Hey everyone, have you ever stopped to think about how a truly massive company, one with thousands of employees and all these moving parts, actually manages to stay healthy and, well, successful? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what's basically a company's annual physical. So where do we even start with a checkup that big? Let's dive in.
I mean, it's a huge challenge, isn't it? It's not just about turning a profit. You've got all these complex laws, mountains of data to keep safe. You have to make sure the entire operation is running like a well-oiled machine. So what's the secret? Well, it all boils down to having a really good system in place.
And that system, it's built around something called assurance services. Now, I want you to think of this exactly like a health checkup. Seriously, just like you or I go to the doctor for an annual physical, companies use these services to get a professional, totally unbiased opinion on how they're really doing.
And here's the key thing. This isn't just some quick once-over. No way. It's a deep, objective examination. The whole point is to give everyone with a stake in the company, from the CEO right down to the investors, that confidence, that peace of mind that things are running efficiently, that they're following the rules, and that their most important assets are safe and sound.
All right, so where does this whole checkup process even begin? Well, the very first stop is what we can call the self-assessment test. You know how before a doctor even talks to you, they hand you that clipboard and you have to fill out a form about your health? Yep, companies do pretty much the exact same thing.
It's called a control self-assessment, or CSA for short. And what's so cool about this is the core idea. The people who are actually doing the work every single day are the best ones to evaluate it, right? It gets everybody in the company involved in spotting potential problems, what they call risks, and checking the safeguards, or controls, that are supposed to manage them. It really empowers the whole team to be a part of the solution.
And look, this isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Companies have a few different ways they can tackle this. They can do these workshops where everyone gets in a room and just talks it all out. Or they can send out surveys and questionnaires. Another way is to have the managers themselves do a deep dive analysis and then officially sign off on it. Which one's best? It really just depends on the company's vibe and culture.
Okay, but just like any test, there's the good and, well, the not so good. The benefits are awesome. I mean, everyone becomes way more aware of potential problems, and they feel a real sense of ownership. But there are limitations. What if the employees just aren't really trained in how to spot risks? Or what if you use a survey in a company where people really need to talk things out face to face? It's all about finding that perfect balance for your team.
All right, so the company's taken a good hard look at itself. But what about its friends? The other businesses it partners with. That's the next part of the checkup. Because let's be honest, if your partners aren't healthy, they can absolutely make you sick.
And we're talking about some serious illnesses here. Think about it. A business partner could wreck your reputation, give you terrible service, totally overcharge you, or worse, lose your private data. These are huge risks coming from the outside, so a company's got to be on its toes.
So how do the company doctors, the auditors, check on these partnerships? Well, they go straight to the contracts. So for what's called a lump sum contract, where it's just one fixed price, they're making sure the payments actually line up with the work that's been done. Then you have cost-plus contracts, where the partner bills for their costs plus a fee. Here, the auditors have to make sure those costs aren't being, padded. At the end of the day, it's all about making sure the deal is fair for everyone.
Now, you might think all this checking up sounds a little suspicious, but it's not about that at all. It's actually about building a stronger, healthier relationship. When both companies know that everything is above board, it cuts down on fraud, builds a ton of trust, and hey, you might even find ways to save money and just work better as a team.
Okay, so you've had your general checkup, but sometimes that's not enough, right? If you have a specific problem, you go see a specialist. Well, it's the exact same for companies. They bring in specialists to do these deep dive audits on very specific parts of the business.
So first up, you've got the quality audit. This is basically a fitness test for a company's products and processes. It's tied to this whole idea of total quality management, which is a fancy way of saying it's not about catching mistakes after they happen, it's about building a system so good that you get high-quality results from the get-go. It's all about doing it right the first time. And there's the security and privacy audit. This one is so important today. Think of it like checking the company's immune system. I mean, we all know companies are under constant attack from hackers, so this audit makes sure their digital defenses are strong enough to protect all that sensitive customer and employee data. It's about keeping private information private. And another big one is the performance audit. This one's like a stress test for a company's heart. It's designed to see how well it's actually performing under pressure. Is it hitting the goals it set out to achieve? Is it using its money, its people, its time in the best way possible? This is all about results, not just checking boxes on a process list.
So you might be wondering, how do these specialists get the full picture? Well, one of the best tools in their toolkit is something called the Balanced Scorecard. It was actually invented to solve a huge problem. Companies being so obsessed with profit that they completely ignored other super important parts of their business health.
See, the Balanced Scorecard tracks 4 vital signs. First, you've got the financial stuff, the profits and sales everyone knows. But then second, it looks at the customer. Are they happy? Are they sticking around? Third, it looks at the internal processes. Are things inside the company running smoothly? And fourth, learning and growth. Is the company coming up with new ideas? Are employees getting smarter? The idea is that a truly healthy company has to be strong across the board, not just in one area.
So, after the company has done its self-assessment, checked up on its partners, and brought in all the specialists, what's next? Well, now it's time for the final diagnosis. This is the big, comprehensive report on the company's overall health.
And really, if there's one thing you should take away from all this, it's that these checkups are not a one-and-done deal. It has to be a continuous process. When companies are regularly and honestly looking at themselves, their partners, and their performance, they can catch problems early, build trust, and really lay the groundwork for success that lasts.
So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Now that you've seen all these different ways to measure a company's health, if you were the company doctor, what's the very first thing you'd check? Is it the money, the customers, something else? Definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.